In the tapestry of celestial lineage, Jeon-hyuk-baek emerged as an enigmatic figure, the son of the heavenly demon whose destiny unfolded in the crucible of a pit, a place where the cold, hard ground bore witness to his struggle for survival. His father, the celestial patriarch, cast him into this desolate abyss, an arduous proving ground meant to extract from Jeong the essence of his worth. A chilling proclamation echoed through the pit as Jeong's father, indifferent to the plight of his 12 children, declared that Jeong's death held no significance. To the heavenly demon, progeny were expendable, mere numbers to be replenished without remorse. The celestial patriarch, a harbinger of divine indifference, conveyed a solemn directive to Jeong, a mandate to ascend to power, to reign over the pit's inhabitants, and thereby to prove himself worthy in the eyes of his father. Yet destiny took an unexpected turn in the form of a punch. A fellow child, misguided by the allure of Jeong's celestial lineage, unleashed a physical blow that shattered the illusion of divine privilege. In the eyes of this child, Jeong was not a figure of reverence but an arrogant brat. A violent confrontation ensued, unraveling a childhood marked by brutality in a world where only the strongest held sway. The assailant, unimpressed by Jeong's celestial pedigree, delivered a swift blow to his chin, sending him sprawling to the unforgiving ground. Jeong, undeterred, attempted to retaliate, but his efforts were in vain as the child deftly dodged his attacks and retaliated with a forceful blow to Jeong's chin. The pit became a battleground, witnesses to the primal spectacle of a celestial hare brought low by the harsh realities of survival. Childhood unfolded amidst the pit's desolation, where other children were shielded by the protective embrace of their parents. Jeong, however, was an anomaly. Thrown away in a world where only the strongest reigned, his struggles, etched in the scars on his body, told a tale of resilience and primal determination. The narrative then transcended time, shifting to the opulence of Dimitri's palace in the present. Here, Jeong had metamorphosed into Roman, a figure of power and complexity. In the solitude of his chamber, Roman immersed himself in a bath, feeling the weariness of his new body that tired easily. The echoes of an awakening in a world dominated by the enigmatic blood fang resonated within him. Roman reflected on the choices he had made, choices that led him to annihilate everything obstructing his path in the pursuit of the blood fang. His convictions remained unshaken. He had not wavered in becoming the person he was. In his past life, he had been a force to be reckoned with, slicing and torturing those who obstructed him, utilizing any means necessary against those with killing intent. The bath became a vessel for Roman's contemplation, a moment of introspection amid the suds and warmth. The danger of his previous encounters with the blood fang loomed over him, prompting caution. He acknowledged that he had not fully grasped the intricacies of this new world, and that his true strength had waned compared to his previous life as Jeong-hyuk-baek. As Roman pondered his next move, a servant interrupted his thoughts with news of a summons from his father, the lord of Dimitri's palace. Roman acknowledged the call, promising to be there shortly. The scene then shifted to the opulent confines of Romero Dimitri's office, where incredulity hung heavy in the air. Jonathan, an astute observer, noted the profound transformation in the young master. Roman's father, Baron Romero, confronted the anomaly of his son, and the current young master is not the same person they used to know before. Roman's father tells Jonathan that Roman is his sore thumb, as he is the only one of his sons who doesn't have anything impressive about him, and he is also the only child that went through the time when Roman's father was a commoner. A poignant flashback unfurled, revealing Roman's father as a commoner toiling in a mine. Young Roman's innocent visit marked by a simple offering of candy, as young Roman wanted his father to finish his work quickly so they can go home together, which is why Roman's father wished Roman to be happy, and this is also the reason he favored Roman and also gave Roman a lot of allowance so he wouldn't be made fun of for being poor. Yet the unintended consequences unfolded as Roman veered down a path of deviation. Roman's father, recognizing the divergence in his son, had already resigned a part of himself to the belief that Roman was beyond redemption. However, news of Roman single-handedly dismantling the blood fang rekindled a flicker of hope, prompting a resurgence of paternal optimism. Roman emerged from his chamber, greeted by his father, who beckoned him inside. The paternal proclamation echoed through the corridors, an unwavering declaration that regardless of the means Roman employed against the blood fang, his father stood ready to do anything for him. In the office, Roman stood before his father, who had heard of his solo triumph against the blood fang. As Roman pondered whether to reveal the truth, his father's eyes burned with hope. Baron Romero had high expectations for what Roman was about to say. The tension in the room, thick with anticipation, hung on Roman's next words. Roman thinks that his father will see him in a totally new light if he told him the truth, but also achievements that exceed expectations come back to bite him. And so if Roman back off right now, he could earn some time for himself to grow. Roman wonders if he should tell the truth or hide it. The narrative then unfurled a tapestry of contrasts, transitioning to the past where Jeong and his former self endured a merciless beating by a child. The echoes of the pit resounded as Jong, battered and bruised, seized a rock. In a surge of primal determination, he retaliated, taking down his assailant with brutal force. The kid falls to the ground, covering his face in fear. Jong gets back on his feet and brutally punches the man with a rock in his hand, ending his life. Onlookers are shocked by this violent act. Jong proudly declares to everyone in the cave that he has defeated the boss, establishing himself, Jong Hyuk-beak, as the dominant force. The scene then shifts to the present, where Roman confesses to his father that he was the one who took down the Bloodfang. As Roman was Jong Hyuk-beak in his previous life who doesn't know how to hide his superiority. The Dimitri's Territory Training Center stood as a bastion of martial development, where the echoes of clashing swords and the fervent hum of disciplined training filled the air. In this crucible of aspiring knights, Baron Dimitri, accompanied by his trusted advisor Jonathan and enigmatic son Roman, made a grand entrance. The sight of the Baron, Jonathan, and Roman walking in prompted all the students and their instructors to stand in line, extending a collective welcome that resonated with awe and respect. Among the sea of aspiring knights, a brown-haired observer's attention was drawn to Roman's unexpected presence. The silent question lingered in his mind. What was Roman doing here, in the heart of the training center? The mystery deepened as the trio of Baron Dimitri, Jonathan, and Roman took their places within the vast expanse of the training facility. The anticipation peaked as Jonathan, assuming the role of a herald, addressed the gathered students. A ripple of curiosity swept through the onlookers as they learned of the day's main event. A swordsmanship duel featuring none other than the young master Roman. Jonathan, with a commanding presence, opened the floor to the students, inviting them to step forward if they wished to participate. However, to the bewilderment of the brown-haired observer and the entire assembly, a profound silence followed. No eager participant emerged to accept the challenge. Perplexed, the brown-haired individual couldn't fathom the hesitation, pondering who would willingly engage in a duel with Roman. The unspoken sentiment of the crowd seemed to echo his sentiments, doubt and reluctance. The narrative then took a temporal leap, rewinding an hour earlier to a pivotal moment when Roman revealed a startling truth to his father, Baron Romero. In a private exchange, Roman disclosed that he had taken down Bloodfang, a notorious organization, by himself. The shock on Baron Romero's face was palpable as he sought details about Roman's audacious feat. Roman, aware of the need to tread carefully in his response, explained that he had been clandestinely training his swordsmanship skills. Baron Romero, puzzled by the secrecy, questioned why Roman had concealed this endeavor. Roman's revelation unraveled a desire for independence, a longing to escape the cocoon of pampering that surrounded him. Roman expressed that he had spent too long wandering alone and sought to demonstrate that even the perceived fool of the Dimitri family could achieve greatness independently. The conversation pivoted to the core of Roman's revelation, the defeat of Bloodfang. Roman elucidated that the organization, born from illegal loans and sustained through threats and coercion, could crumble if its leader were vanquished. Baron Romero, shocked by Roman's audacity in baiting the Bloodfang leader, Ben Miles, with false information, reprimanded his son for the perceived recklessness of his actions. The discourse explored the calculated risk Roman had taken, utilizing himself as bait. Roman argued that the group, bound by threats and pressure, wouldn't risk their lives to save their leader in a situation where they could regain their freedom. Despite Baron Romero's initial anger, he found himself impressed by Roman's careful planning, decision-making, and the courage to execute the plan. This newfound respect prompted a unique favor from the Baron. He expressed a dying wish to witness Roman's transformed swordsmanship firsthand, eager to see the extent of his son's evolution. Returning to the present, a solemn atmosphere prevailed as it became evident that no one among the aspiring knights was willing to step forward and face Roman in the impending duel. The brown-haired observer contemplated the scenario, concluding that the potential participants saw little to gain in challenging Roman, and the consequences of a loss loomed large. Jonathan, faced with the challenge of an unresponsive crowd, took it upon himself to select a worthy opponent for Roman. His gaze fell upon the brown-haired observer, and with a determined resolve, he called upon Chris, the vice-captain of the Dimitri Knights, to step forward and engage in a duel with Roman. The revelation of Chris as the chosen opponent stirred shock in the atmosphere. The narrative then delved into the past a year ago when Chris first encountered Roman. Reports had surfaced of a disturbance in a restaurant, where a drunkard, causing a ruckus, turned out to be Roman Dimitri. Chris, tasked with restoring order, intervened only to be slapped by Roman. In that moment, Chris realized the stark truth. Roman had never trained, possessing the strength of a below-average adult man. The revelation left Chris incredulous, unable to reconcile the image of the pathetic individual before him with the status of the Lord's son. Returning to the present, the shock of being chosen for a duel against someone he had once considered trash lingered in Chris' expression. Despite his reluctance, Jonathan insisted that Chris, as vice captain and witness to Roman's confrontation with Blood Fang, was the rightful candidate for a fair match. Attempting to dissuade Jonathan, Chris conveyed his hesitations about facing Roman. However, Jonathan, armed with the knowledge of Roman's exploits against Blood Fang, asserted that Chris' participation was essential for a fair match. Chris, still grappling with preconceived notions about Roman's abilities, half-heartedly accepted the duel. As Roman and Chris faced each other in the arena, the tension reached its zenith. Jonathan, on the brink of initiating the duel, faced an unexpected request from Chris. He expressed a condition, one that reflected the intensity of his training and the gravity of the impending clash. Chris insisted that any duel involving swords should be treated as a real battle, devoid of mercy. He conveyed his unwavering commitment to this principle, regardless of who his opponent was. Jonathan, standing at the crossroads of decision, looked towards Baron Romero, who, in turn, fixed his gaze upon Roman. The air crackled with anticipation. Roman, seemingly unperturbed, responded with a smile. The unexpected display of confidence from Roman left Chris in a state of shock, challenging his assumptions about the Lord's Son. The stage was set for a duel that transcended the physical realm. Within the hallowed grounds of the Dimitri's Territory Training Center, anticipation hung thick in the air. The clash between Roman and Chris, the vice-captain of the Dimitri Knights, promised to be a spectacle that would etch itself into the annals of the Dimitri family history. As Jonathan initiated the duel, the atmosphere crackled with tension. Chris, fueled by determination and perhaps a tinge of resentment, charged forward at Roman with unbridled ferocity. The clash of steel echoed through the training center as Chris unleashed a series of rapid strikes, each aimed at testing Roman's mettle. To the astonishment of onlookers, including fellow knights and instructors, Chris's speed was truly formidable. The brown-haired observer, who had initially dismissed Roman, now found himself reevaluating the situation. Perhaps this duel held more significance than he had anticipated. Jonathan, serving as the overseer of this unexpected contest, couldn't conceal his surprise as Roman skillfully blocked Chris's relentless assault. The clash of blades, the dance of precision and strength, left an indelible mark on the witnesses. Roman's defensive posture proved to be not only stable but also adept at withstanding the onslaught from Chris. As the initial shock settled, Chris, too, registered his own surprise. Backing away, he assessed the situation, recognizing the repulsive force emanating from Roman's hands. The defensive prowess displayed by Roman wasn't what Chris had expected. This realization, however, only fueled Chris's determination to beat Roman decisively. Undeterred, Chris gathered his resolve and charged at Roman with renewed vigor. Roman, seemingly possessing an uncanny ability to anticipate Chris's strikes, dodged with the grace of a seasoned swordsman. The ebb and flow of the duel painted a vivid picture of two skilled combatants locked in a dance of blades. Roman, not content with mere defense, shifted his stance and launched a counterattack. The fluidity of his movements left the onlookers in awe. Chris, determined to break through Roman's defenses, intensified his assault. Blow after blow, the clash of swords echoed through the training center. In a pivotal moment, Chris spotted what seemed like an opening, a chance to deliver a final decisive strike. Roman, however, proved to be one step ahead. Evading Chris' attack, Roman swiftly retaliated, his blade grazing Chris's head. The near miss sent shockwaves through the spectators, leaving them questioning the true extent of Roman's abilities. Baron Dimitri and Jonathan, observing the duel with keen interest, were equally taken aback. The knights, initially skeptical of Roman's prowess, couldn't deny the evidence before them. Roman's skill surpassed expectations, and Chris, the once confident vice-captain, found himself reassessing the situation. Chris, grappling with the realization that Roman possessed abilities far beyond his initial estimation, contemplated the potential consequences of defeat. However, a surge of pride and determination surged within him. There was no way he would allow himself to be bested by the so-called idiot of the Dimitri family, especially not in front of an audience. Gritting his teeth, Roman muttered to himself that it was just a warm-up. He declared that he would take the offensive, aiming to turn the tide in his favor. In the blink of an eye, Roman was about to strike, catching Chris off guard. However, Chris managed to block Roman's attack, though he couldn't shake off the feeling that Roman's speed had intensified. With an impressive display of speed and precision, Roman unleashed a relentless flurry of strikes. The other knights, witnessing this masterful demonstration, couldn't help but be impressed. In contrast, Chris found himself barely holding his ground against Roman's onslaught. The realization dawned on him, continuing at this rate would be perilous. Roman, seemingly in control of the duel, prepared for a decisive strike. In a daring move, he aimed to bring the duel to a swift conclusion. Chris, however, seized what he believed to be an opening. In a surge of determination, he lunged at Roman, intending to take him down. Yet Roman, with a smug smirk, effortlessly evaded Chris's attack. In that moment, Chris realized he had fallen into a carefully orchestrated trap. Roman, confident in his imminent victory, prepared for the final blow. In a surprising turn of events, Chris tapped into an unseen well of power, his aura. A surge of energy surrounded him as he unleashed a powerful sword aura, creating a dazzling explosion that captivated the attention of everyone present. Jonathan, realizing the potential danger, shouted for Chris to stop, but Chris was immersed in the fervor of battle and paid no heed, and fully strike Roman with his sword aura, which creates a huge explosion. To the shock of Baron Dimitri, Jonathan, and the assembled knights, Roman managed to evade the devastating strike by deftly ducking. The ensuing explosion, while impressive, left Roman unscathed. In a swift and decisive move, Roman seized the opportunity created by Chris' reckless maneuver. With a final well-timed strike, Roman brought Chris to his knees. The training center fell into stunned silence as the realization sunk in. Roman, the perceived fool of the Dimitri family, had emerged victorious over the formidable vice-captain of the Dimitri Knights. Jonathan, Baron Dimitri, and the other knights stood in awe of the unexpected outcome. The brown-haired observer, who had witnessed the entire spectacle unfold, now understood that Roman Dimitri was far more than meets the eye. The duel had not only shattered preconceptions, but also established Roman as a force to be reckoned with within the Dimitri legacy. As the echoes of the duel lingered in the air, the training center bore witness to a transformative moment. Roman, once dismissed as an idiot, had emerged triumphant, rewriting the narrative of his capabilities and leaving an indelible mark on the history of the Dimitri family.